Hey guys, it's Coach Blauer. I am back for the Candid COVID-19 talks. I got a special guest with me today, Dave Leduc. Dave's the Open Weight Lethwei world champion. Many of the people who follow my podcast, of course, are martial artists, combat experts, law enforcement, military, self-defense proponents. So most of you will know who Dave is. I met Dave recently when he came to do a Southern California tour, He was on the Joe Rogan podcast, which is a little bit bigger than mine, not much bigger, but he visited me in my home, and I wanted to say something that what struck me most, Dave, about you was how intelligent you were, how cerebral you were, how you're an entrepreneur. You've got like different things way beyond just the fighting part. And a lot of people assume that fighters are knuckle draggers, and while many are, most aren't. My experience is a lot of fighters are super intelligent and they'd be really good chess players. They just like to play chess with humans, right?
Yeah, especially Lethwei fighters. So a lot of people expect me to just be headbutting stuff all day long and have I see a lot of sometimes you've had your share of it, like haters on the internet is like, oh, that's the concussion talking. Well, just to be fair, I never had one, and the way I know that my sport is very brutal, and we'll get to that, but I'm trying to be the new generation Lethwei fighter, the new to train smart, intelligently, and try to because fighting is just because I have a lot of childhood traumas. I like to fight.
Right.
It's not only who I am. I love a lot. I have other passions as well, and I like to. I'm a big. I like to consume knowledge. I like that. So there's obviously some fighters, hockey players that whenever they can't articulate thoughts, I guess.
Right.
Well, for me, I think it's important because you never know. I like to learn a lot of stuff, so I'm not. Right. The only thing I know is I don't know shit.
Right. No, that's the way. And listen, also, a lot of Dave is originally, or he lives in one of his homes is is outside Montreal, Quebec.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or were you near more Quebec City?
Near Ottawa.
So,
small town.
So he used the word articulate here, but I want to say that English isn't his native tongue. He's French Canadian. So he's translating, and this just gives you another example of how cerebral he is. But I was super impressed with you and what you've done with your career and what you're doing. So I wanted to
thank you for welcoming me in your home as well. And I was very, very impressed by what you've done from starting from nothing to building this empire of self-defense, and you and your wife are extremely welcoming to us, and it was really cool to pick your brain on a bunch of things. You give me your thoughts on other things, on some of the techniques that I use. So it was really, really pleasant meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. We had a little bit of fun in the garage there, and maybe one day when this whole pandemic's over, we can revisit. I think there's a place for the half spear in the clinch to set up your headbutt there. So we'll play with that. Hopefully this thing will be over soon. So I'm using these. I'm doing short interviews with people because I want to try. Right now we get our information from CNN and Fox or the BBC or wherever you live, whatever the Canadian networks are, and we all know the news distorts and manipulates. They're very dramatic about stuff. And so I'm trying to have these intelligent conversations with influencers and role models and people who influence me. I read your posts. I've private messaged you a couple of times where the way you handle stuff, and I go, man, I love that. So it's not about somebody's age. It's not about what somebody's occupation is. Can you sense integrity and truth in a conversation? That's how we learn.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times, I was told growing up, one day you'll know, one day you'll understand. And I think age, is not everything. I know a lot of old people that are stupid. So it doesn't, I think, like you say, it's what what you do. And I read a lot of your stuff as well. And it's very, very interesting. You send your things and I read them, and it's a crazy time we're living right now. It's
Yeah.
it's like a zombie apocalypse.
Right. So let me ask you this straight off, like first question, just
Yeah.
how are you? One-on-one, how
Well,
are
I'm
you?
good, thank you. And that's a pretty good question. Well, we were in Cyprus when we were talking. We have a place there, and now we went here to get another place because I'm gonna spend a lot of time here training with my coach from day one, in Gatineau near Ottawa, and then we kind of visited parents, and we got stuck here because it was the flights starting to get canceled,
Right.
and they're supposed to headline the martial art festival in Paris, and then was also doing a seminar in Lyon in France. Everything got canceled, so I'm a bit bummed out. I was supposed to corner a friend of mine from Denmark at his first Lethwei fight in Myanmar as well, so I was excited to have another guy in the stables but yeah, everything got postponed, so now
Yeah.
we're just at home, staying fit, staying active, doing a lot of computer stuff. I'm a kind of a geek, and between trainings, and I like to research stuff and to plan.
Nice. Good. How's your family doing?
They're good. I'm actually at the family house right now, so kind of it's kind of cool to be spending time with my parents and my mother. I don't see them often, so
Right.
they're good. Yeah.
Right. So you alluded to this with all the, you've had to postpone seminars, obviously fights, appearances. I happen to know, we don't discuss the details. You've been very smart in how you invest and your sponsors and so on and so forth. But how has this affected your business, and what are you doing to
Good
adapt?
question. It took. I mean, I can't complain compared to other maybe physical business owners that have hard, like restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. I cannot comprehend what they're living right now. I can just speak for myself that I was supposed to do a shooting in Boston, a seminar in Vermont this right now, like in a few days. One in France, shooting in Myanmar. So with Canal Plus, it just yeah, a lot of thousands and thousands of dollars potentially lost, or hopefully just postponed, but
Right.
it's taking. I think where now it's hurting more the economy than they're having debts. It's kind of scary.
Right. And that's one of the things that is the challenge. You've got like the virus is real and it's dangerous to people,
Yeah.
but the longer we keep the economy in this state, at some point you're going to have, if there's not like some either change or some sort of financial remedy, people are going to start to panic, and then you're going to have potential looting and violence and suicides from businesses lost. So you've got, I always, from day one, I said, we've got to look at the virus as a real threat.
Yeah.
But if we do this to economy, then we've got two threats we got to contend with.
Good point. And I don't know if it's propaganda or something, but I've seen some articles of a German politician maybe took his own life, and another young lady from who knows where took her own life as well. So I don't know if those are real things, because we don't know nowadays what's real on the
Right,
internet
what's
or not.
fake news?
But yeah, some people I've sensed it, and I've said that maybe this pandemic is going to get more people bankrupt and potentially suicidal than the actual virus kills itself.
Right. Well, the reality is it'll be both. So I had a call with Mike Glover, who's a buddy of mine. He's a retired sergeant major from the Army, counterterrorism expert, and he gave a great metaphor where he said, like, if you look at COVID-19, if you look at the flu, which infects a lot of people and kills a huge amount of people, if you look at the numbers, he said, let's say the flu is a bad guy with an AK-47. Well, COVID-19 is another bad guy like the flu, and he's got his own AK-47, because you can get the flu and you can get the strain of COVID.
Yeah.
And so, we were talking about this and I know you like to shoot, aside from the striking with all of your limbs. But it was a neat metaphor, because it was like, we go, oh, it's just the flu, but really what it is, it's like saying, oh, it's just two guys with guns, as opposed to, instead of just saying, oh, it's one guy with gun, we go, no, it's two guys with gun. And guess what? And I thought it was interesting. I added to the metaphor. I said, somebody like you, who's got great aerobic capacity, who trains, who's healthy, not very vulnerable to this. But somebody elderly or somebody with an autoimmune deficiency. So those people are like you have, because of the way you've trained your whole life, you have proverbial or metaphoric body armor. So if you get hit with it, you might go, shit, that sucked, but I had my body armor on. Whereas somebody else who's compromised doesn't have the armor. So the reality is, in this metaphor, is the virus is dangerous, but like you said,
on the balance,
you destroy the economy. When there was no virus and the market crashed years ago, there were a lot of people that committed suicide and destroyed relationships. And so we've got to, I hope our politicians are thinking very deeply about that.
I think you have a point. I think it's going to be both. It's going to be both casualties with the virus and casualties with the economy afterwards. I'm not sure how it's gonna come back to, and it's gonna take a while, because right now, if I'm talking just to the small town in Quebec, Canada, right now, things are not looking good. I spoke with my real estate agent yesterday. He's like, I'm losing my prime time right now. I'm gonna lose $500,000 probably. It's gonna hurt a lot of people. So what do you think is, because the government right now, Canada has started to give like $2,000 a month for 4 months. So that's a small, $8,000.
Right.
Not everybody qualifies for it. And if, I'm just worried, is it going to be enough?
Yeah. Then they gave, I think, $1,200 or $1,600 here. I mean, like, if you got, that might be okay if you live in a tent and you're one person, but like if you
that's your water costs at the house, probably.
If you're paying rent and you got kids, I mean, it's scary time. So let's move on here. Best thing about the lockdown.
Okay, well, there's a few things. I like to be positive, because otherwise life is pretty dark. I try to see positivity in everything. Well, I'm blessed to be able to share this quarantine with my wife, so that I'm happy, because she's my partner in life. And I think, apart from everything, we're just a side note. I think that happiness is only real when shared. And I've traveled myself. I got the name the Nomad. I traveled all the world wonders, and I was like, it was all cool. That was before I met my wife. And then I was stuck at home at hotel at night. And I was wondering, like, fuck, I would like to share that with someone. Like, I was looking for people to share those stories and those pictures. Right. And so for me, my whole reason to be here and to enjoy the fruits of life is to be with my wife. So that I'm already happy with this. Now, the positivity is like I get to catch up on some work that I was like in a rush with. So that's cool. Right. And it kind of puts the whole world on hold right now. And it makes you realize that, what you really need, how many essential businesses there is. It makes you realize, okay, I don't need much I actually I got a new car here and I didn't drive it for 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, so, and nobody
need that car. Yeah.
But how much thing do you really need? What do you think?
Interesting. No. I'm interviewing you. You can't ask. You can't interview me now.
Okay.
No, but no, I agree with that. Like, it's interesting just to ask and to hear from the different people I'm interviewing, like what they're taking out of this. Because again, whether one person listens to this or thousands of people listen to this, for them to hear about positivity or connecting to, in your case, your wife, or you're at home with your family and stuff like that.
And I realized that she's really a good girl. I didn't really know, but I realized she's she's next to me. I can joke like this.
I know. Now you found out.
I've seen the meme about this, right? He said, like, I'm stuck in quarantine, and I realized that there's a woman living in a house as well, and she's a good woman. And
right. I posted a couple of funny ones. I posted one when it says with Gertrude, and she's knitting. She says, "I'm knitting him something, but it's a noose."
Yeah. I think I saw those memes on your page.
Yeah. So funny. But, okay, so let's switch channels. What's the worst thing about the lockdown?
Okay, well, to be fair, yes, I went for a run. I trained, but it's not the same as sparring. As I'm really feeling that there's like training is not optimal, and that pisses me off. So because that's my job, right? That's what I like to do, and I don't like it's that pisses me off, that part. And to well, it's a bit of a waste. I mean, we spoke about the economic part of it. That's already spoken about. I think that's the worst. uh, personally and for the entire society. I think the training, and the other part was it's just like, I'm wondering, because I was, I had stuff to launch afterwards, a lot of stuff. I mean, how successful is it going to be afterwards? How the launching is going to go? People are going to be not, as easily ready to spend. I don't know. There's a lot of things, and that's not only for me. That's for everybody, any business owners, anything. So it's, I think it's a matter of staying positive right now. But obviously everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. It's just a small phase that sucks, and a small phase that partly suck, partly there's positive as well. But we have to go through this, and we've been, so the human race has been through way worse things than that. We're going to get through this. Obviously, I guess it's easy to not complain, but it's easy to say, this sucks. This sucks when you have a roof, when you have stuff like that. So I'm always grateful. So I don't want to complain, because some people, they have it way worse than us. And I went to Myanmar, and thankfully there's not too many cases right now, until like that was 2 months ago. And I visit my friends at the orphanage. We always go with them, and they're very excuse me for that. We had I closed it. So we went there, and they were not even concerned about it. It was about survival. It was about, they barely had food. I brought them rice and oil. It was just like, they were just grateful for that thing. So it puts everything in perspective. Everything in perspective.
True. Nice answer, man. And nice that you visit the orphanage and stuff like that. No, it's a crazy time. And you're right. The world has been through way worse. I like to remind people that, like for us right now, things like, the Spanish flu and the Black Plague, like those were like blips in a history class where someone said, oh, hey, I got a multiple choice here. When was the Black Plague? And like it was, and then it was like, what do you want to do for lunch? Like it didn't, like we're going through this now, but I want to remind people something, taking a cue from your positivity, and we're going to be okay, is first of all, it's a choiceless choice. And when you're put in a fight with a choiceless choice, all you do is choose to fight. You can't give up. But to also think this is the first time this is worldwide. No other, the word pandemic implies the word, worldwide, but this is like, we've never had the world actually shut down at the same time. So we need to think about that. But the other thing is, this is hitting us, but we are, in terms of evolution with science and medical equipment and just neuroplasticity and brain, we are the smartest we've ever been. In terms of creating and finding some sort of remedy or some sort of antidote or some sort of way to contain this. And right now, and I know you dig this because you're also dabbling in action pictures and shooting, and we've got a mutual friend, Kung Lee and stuff. But the operators that you portray in the movies, the good guys and the bad guys, are now our doctors and our scientists.
I agree.
And they're moving towards the danger. And so we just got to,
they're exposed every day to this as well. So they're I spoke with my wife yesterday. I think they're superheroes right now, because and it's an invisible threat. So they're exposed to it without even knowing it. And it's actually my friend. I was on the Amazing Race with him. He's a firefighter, and he's actually fighting in he's working in Toronto, Canada. And his wife was sick for a long time. She has, he's not able to stay at home with her, because he goes to work still every day. So contaminated. How tragic is that? Else, she has to stay with the family, the parents, while he stays downtown, because he has to go to the firefighter. I don't know how to say that in English, the word, but the office every day. So
the fire department.
Fire department, yeah, exactly.
So it's crazy. We don't value or think about, it's like you live in Canada, I live in the US, your prime minister and our president said, okay, unessential inessential businesses stop, essential businesses go. So we're like, what the fuck? Oh shit. But imagine you're a firefighter, your emergency services, you're a police officer, you've got to go. And like you said, it's a great visual. You know, if I said, hey, get in the ring and fight this guy, you can look at him and go, I'm going to kick him in the leg and then I'm going to headbutt him in the head. But if suddenly he disappeared, like in one of those Schwarzenegger science fiction movies, where, what was it actually, Predator, where you couldn't see, like, and you're right, Dave. You can't see the attacker here. You don't know. So but
you're right. And to add to this, like right now, I think, I don't know, we can just speculate. It could have been way worse. It could have been probably millions if we didn't, cut the flights. I don't know. Right. I don't know. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think right now the death toll is, not nearly as high as what we had the pandemic in the past. So we can see that's positive because we responded faster than before, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And they're, what I understand is they're producing tests and manufacturing respirators at like a speed that's never been done. So that's what I said earlier is like, with capitalism and ingenuity and how smart people are in 3D printers and all of that. So why I'm talking about that, folks, whoever's listening to this, is it's easy to get sucked into the fear loop like I talk about in our cycle of behavior. And then you sit there and then you're in the fear loop. And what starts to happen is you end up hijacking your productivity and your creativity because all you're doing is visualizing doom and destruction and dismay. And, I said this on a webinar I did the other day. If you and your family and your business need to solve problems right now, you can't solve problems if you become the problem. You've got to develop the self-awareness and go, okay, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We are going to get through this. And if somebody says how, it's the choice. Like it's which wolf do you feed, as the expression goes. You can be as negative as you want, but you need to be positive.
Yeah, like you say, if somebody has how, well, it's irrelevant how. It will happen. It's been proven, and it's just a matter of when. Like it's like anything in life, how am I going to build this successful business? How are you going to become a champion?
Right.
Like I don't know how. Who's going to do it? Just so right now, I think you're right. It's about understanding that it will go back to normal. It might take a while, but we have to stay strong. You spoke about manufacturing masks and all these things. One of the few things that we were able to do here in our town here is that I bought shares of a vodka company last year, and we had to let go a lot of people during this crisis. So a lot of people are laid off, but we had a few people still remaining at the distillery. So we basically transformed all the leftover whiskey that we had, over 1,000 liters, and we made hand sanitizers, and we gave it to hospitals. And
nice.
so that was pretty cool because this was supposed to become drunk liquid, and
right.
We made 1,000 liters, so a lot of bottles, and we distributed to the health workers right now. Big, because actually right now there's the shortage of hand sanitizers in Quebec, so it's insane. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but
that's amazing. Good job. Yeah, I posted something yesterday on my Instagram feed. I'm going to read it. It's a meme that it's kind of cool, but it's on particularly rough days when I'm sure I can't possibly endure. I like to remind myself that my track record for getting through bad days so far is 100%, and that's pretty good. If you think about it, guys, everyone listening to this, we've all had. How many times have you said this is the worst day of my life, right? And then a day or two went by, and then something good happened. So, just head up, stay focused, get out of the fear loop, keep moving forward.
If I can add something, I think that hardships create success, or nothing good comes out of comfort. So right now, I know it might be hard to think about, but something good is going to come out of this. Maybe it's going to be we're going to be more prepared, because there will be more biological weapon, bio warfare. There will be more. That's just the beginning. And I was actually watching Contagion yesterday. It was a
good movie to watch during this.
It's pretty much the same thing. A bat drops the banana and the swine. It's pretty insane.
Wow. A good movie. Is it worth watching?
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it. Is it worth it?
It's Contagion on Netflix, and it's with.
I'm trying to watch comedies now.
I suggest watching because it's pretty much describing the COVID-19 pandemic, but a couple of years before. And yeah, but what I was gonna say, and I forgot my thought, is that hardships create, and could be, some kids are sometimes have hardships at home or school, and I had my share, you had your share, but looking back, you're like, well, I'm thankful it happened because it made me react a certain way. It made me want to do something else. So those hardships might suck at the moment. Right now, you may, some people hearing us is like, guys, like, yeah, you say all these nice things, but I'm still stuck at home and I lost my job. And like, I don't give a shit what you're telling me. I'm like, yes, I hear you, but you will go back. It will go back to normal, and this hardship is gonna bring something good. Maybe it's gonna give you another job, more fulfilling. Somebody's gonna find their soulmate there. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here.
No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. It's like I said earlier. It's a choiceless choice. You can sit there and just be the punching bag and get the shit kicked out of you, or you figure out how to fight. Yeah. And you've got to change that perspective, because embracing a single idea can change the trajectory of your life. You got to, like, even you would never become a world champion. No doubt you had influencers and guardians and mentors, but you had to believe in yourself. There's no way.
And I had not only that, but I spoke about that on the Rogan podcast. I would not have left to Asia and leave everything and sold everything that I had, the little that I had, to start a new life there, if I was not kicked out of the family house at a young age. And literally, this was the hardest moment of my life. And I spoke about it recently with my parents. And I was homeless and no money. And I was like, okay, it's the middle of the winter, minus 25 degrees Celsius. I don't know for Americans if you know, but it's pretty cold. And basically, if that moment did not happen, I would not have that fuel in me to prove everybody, look, I can make it. I'm strong. So this was a really hard moment, way harder than right now. And we went through it and came back stronger.
Right. No, 100%. Yeah. Good shit, man. Good shit. Next question. There's so much information out there. So much misinformation, fake news, real news, manipulation, politics. Yeah. Where are you getting your info, and how are you verifying it? What is true to you, and how are you getting that?
Well, I take a lot of pride in being a very, very skeptical person. I think people have a misunderstanding of skepticism. You cannot be too skeptical, because the way to skepticism is ultimately truth. So you cannot be, the more skeptical you are, the more right you will be. So I'm extremely skeptical, and that's the way I am for everything in life. It can be beliefs, it can be anything. So I try to be as rational as I can. There's a lot of stuff online. My family sends me some articles. I see these articles. I take pretty much everything with a grain of salt, and ultimately I think it's from different. I really don't listen to the news much, because I see on loop right now on the news, it's only about that. So you will go on that, you go on that fear loop, and a thing or two about fear. You right. Told me a lot about it, and it's very dangerous, because now you become consumed about it, and you become actually scared. And to be fair, how bad is it for real? And I've seen something, again, I don't know, I did not verify it yesterday, but I've seen a video of a guy going to a hospital after, on the news, it was said that they were overwhelmed, that they had not enough things, and the next day goes in the hospital, and there was not a lot of people there. There's no lineup. So I'm like, right. Ooh, is that real? Is that not real? Right?
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I hear you. And
because I can see how it would benefit this pandemic right away. I'm part of this. I give away kind of my freedom, right? I went home, I stayed home, because first of all, there's nothing else to do, right? But my coach, by locking up the gym, by people listening and staying home, it's kind of, there you go. We give away all their freedom, and right. It's going to be pretty easy in the future. And we don't even know in the future if it's going to be a real pandemic. But hey, guys, right. Stay home, and there you go. We're staying home. So I don't want to jump onto the conspiracy theory bandwagon, but you never know, right?
It's that's how it happens, right? You get a little bit more of your rights and your freedom is eroded a little bit. And it's, I mean, I can't wait to see the movie they make about this in 2 years, because, you know, it's like, whether it's I feel like I said this the other day to Jesse. I said, I feel like I'm in a futuristic science fiction movie where, you know, the super elite politicians have their own laws and their own rules. And then the rest of us are here and we're outside this wall, and there's like 100 movies that have been made like this. But I feel like I'm in a movie, but it's like, it's happening right now. And because, and you brought up a really good point, Dave, all of us around the world just sat down, right? And the media is so complicit in this, because whether you realize it or not, you don't know what's real anymore. So if somebody says millions of people will die if you don't sit down and close your business, we drop into the fear loop, we step back, and it's a catch-22, because if millions of people don't die and they release it, people go like, what the fuck was that? Why did you, not realizing that maybe the social distancing and the shelter in place actually helped. So it's crazy. I just hope, you know, we get back to normal as soon as possible.
And you made me think about something. And again, that's just me try to brainstorm on what could potentially happen. But let's say right now, we, you know, pretty much the entire world listen pretty well. I mean, they don't have a choice. Flights are all canceled. You can't really leave unless it's essential for business or something. What scares me is that, for example, you know, I'm going for down the road, they would, because of that big scare that the world had, let's say that they would oblige people to, you know, you cannot travel out of internationally without getting a vaccine, for example. So we have this and that covered. Well, that would mean that I would not be able to leave the country or enter certain countries without having a certain type of vaccine, because it was recommended by the world. That would be fucking scary. That means that I would not have complete, I would have, in a way, they're not telling me that you have to have that vaccine, because it's my body, it's my freedom, but in a way it's like, well, you can't go do your work, you can't do this if you don't have that vaccine. So that would be, that's something that could potentially happen.
I just got an email this morning from a good friend of mine, a message on WhatsApp. He's a retired police officer, and he just messaged me today and said that the government just said all retired police officers have to come back to work.
Get out.
And I'm like, imagine like you worked for 20 years or 30 years, you retired, you started a new business. And I said, I answered him back. I said, wow, that's crazy. That's outrageous. And I said, is it like a draft, or they're asking you? Like, is it like mandatory, or are they asking you? And he said, it's mandatory, and you could lose your pension if you defy it.
Are you kidding me?
So imagine that. Now, I haven't verified this, but my source is he's a retired police officer. Why would he? But so like the next thing is, Dave, we got to put a little microchip in your neck, because, you know, we got to track your movement. Like, you know, like the microchip thing was a joke, but how far away are we from mandatory vaccine?
There's a lot of movies about it, and whatever you can visualize or, you know, can materialize, and a lot of things that didn't happen in movies actually happen in real life. So it's, the mind is very strong. So if we can think about something, people can make it happen.
This talk was supposed to calm people down. I think we're freaking.
Well, at the same time, we spoke about positivity. We spoke, but we also have to be ready for something.
This is the skepticism. This is the skepticism. You gotta talk about this, but don't turn this into a horror movie where you're victim number one.
I agree.
Right? You look at this and go, okay, critical thinking. What do I need to look into? What do I need to research? What do I need to talk to? Okay, next question. This is great. I'm loving this, man. So this is interesting, guys. You're listening to a guy who, if you see clips, if you go to Dave's Instagram and just Google him online and you watch him fight, you wouldn't believe this is the conversation with the same guy, because he's a fucking animal in the ring. He's a smart fighter, but it's so violent, his art. But I want you to, if you don't know who he is, I want you to think about how intelligent this conversation is and how fun it is and how down to earth it is, and then go look at him fight, because you would bump into him in a bar And if you're walking in a bar and you bumped into him and you knocked your beer, you go, "Hey, what the fuck, dude? Watch your," and you, that might be the last thing that you said, depending on if he was in a good mood or a bad mood. But anyways, I'm enjoying this conversation, buddy.
Thank you.
So what bothers you the most about what you've already covered this, but in a nutshell, what bothers you the most about what's going on?
Okay. Well, the only thing open right now is actually the only place that there's no shortage of anything is my organic shop. Somehow, and I'm going to go in a different path here. Somehow what bothers me the most is that people are so worried about catching this potential disease, which they have a lot of chance of beat regardless, but like they're so worried about this and somehow starting to exercise and everything because there's 10,000 people worldwide that died. I don't know the numbers exactly. When there's been stats year after year of coronary heart disease or heart attacks, especially in the United States, but in Russia, all around the world, and it's been led to lack of exercise and bad food choices. So somehow people just like, okay, well, we're going to care about this, but we're not going to care about our intake of food, which is the fuel. So it pisses me off that people, they put these are like premium gasoline in their car, but they put fast food in their body, and that's like I can't understand that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's like, why do you need a pandemic to eat properly and work out, right? Yeah. So let's just hope that if this is lifted in a week, in a month, 2 months, that those routines of trying to stay healthy are sustained, that people continue to live their life like that, because that's the first line of defense against disease is, what are you putting in your body and are you moving your body?
It's kind of, I had a discussion recently, and I think people, and I was one of them before as well, we kind of take our body for granted. We kind of take our heart for granted because it pumps day in and day seconds. Even when we're sleeping, it regenerates by itself while we're sleeping. That freaks me out,
right?
Because every muscle, when it contracts, has micro fractures, micro
tears,
rips, right? Micro rips in the bicep when you lift the weight, and the heart is one of them as well. And for me, I think people take this incredible machine for granted that is our body, and take more care of their car with constant oil change and everything. But then how many times you go for a run? How many times you go for a little heart pump? So it's for me, it's crazy. And then they only realize it when they're on the hospital bed. And
I love that. Very well put. I love that. It's true. People take better care of their car than they do of their body.
Yeah, some people never miss an oil change. Never. Right. They have their booklet and they have everything in there. But then, what's the last time you exercised? 1998.
Right. Good one. I like it. Okay. Without turning this into a political answer, if I put you in charge of the world, you're in charge of Canada, Trudeau calls you up and goes, "Dave, I don't know what to do." What would you do? What would you change? What would you put in place?
Well, that's a good question. I do not want that. I already have a lot of ties in Myanmar, and without even wanting it, because of the position that I had there. I'm tourism and helping tourism in Myanmar because of the sport, through sports, right?
Right.
But to be fair, I'm. It's hard to say, but I think in Canada it's more to my ideology because it's more scattered. We're only 35 million people here, so it's and second biggest country in the world. I've been watching Doomsday Preppers on Netflix. It's a 2012 series, and one of them was a retired Marine, and he said, lives a normal life in the suburbs in the U.S., but he's been preparing for never a crisis or something. I'm going off board what you asked me, but I think now it gave me a lot of ideas for my house in Cyprus. I want to have there with my solar panels. I want to be able self-sustaining. Right. So I think short answer, I would give a lot of incentives to Canadians or people in the US right. or talking to me, or if I take it like you say about Canada, I would give incentives to become more and more sustainable. Even we kind of do the opposite here, because one guy in Quebec actually had an excess of electricity produced by his solar panels,
Right.
and he still had to pay Hydro-Quebec for that. So that was kind of it's kind of, they want the monopoly, they want the control over the population through electricity and everything. And instead, they should encourage it. I think they're afraid of losing the billions of dollars they make every year.
Right.
So
No,
I would give incentive to Canadians to convert their household into a sustainable, garden, everything.
interesting.
Because because right now we're at 3 days shortage of food if something happens one day, right? In the movies they say that. So I wanna start canning. My wife's from Moldova and Russia. She learned how to can, so we're gonna start canning, and that can last for a long time. So there's a lot of things that just keeps me more aware. I was not really thinking about these things prior to this pandemic.
Right.
So I would urge Canadians to start to get some reserve, not toilet paper, other things.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Didn't expect that one. That's a good answer. So personally, not Dave Leduc, the world champion, the businessman, the entrepreneur, what has been the most challenging thing for you personally through this?
Well, I'm to be perfectly honest with you, perfectly transparent. It was motivation. It's so easy to just stay home and just start to watch Netflix and everything. And for the first few days, that's exactly what I did. I'm perfectly because I like the contact. I like to clinch. I like to spar with somebody, and it's for me. That's why gyms, like just lifting weights, has never been very fun for me, because I was lacking this punching, getting punched and punching back.
Right.
So it's been the motivation to train. But I like it because I know I have fights coming up and I have stuff coming up, and I just if shit hits the fan again. The goal is not to talk about this, but I'm ready.
No, it's good. It's good. Good answer. Okay. Final message or words to people listening.
Hardships creates wonders. So this is a hardship. It will somehow, something good's going to come out of it. More preparedness. Our country's going to be more prepared for future things. Yourself should learn, to be more prepared. So it's kind of a wake up call for everybody. What if it lasts longer? What if it lasts 2 years, right? What if? So this, I think there's positivity in that, and that also, and to keep your head up, and that everything's gonna be fine. To be honest, that's my main takeaway. I think we should think positively about that.
Dig it, man. Great answer, buddy. So good to see you, even under these circumstances. Very impressive interview, and I'm looking forward to connecting again when this is all over in person.
I'm looking forward to drop by the house when I'm I'm in California as well, to catch up. You're a real gentleman and a real pioneer in your field of work, and thank you for that. Thank you from everybody.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Be safe.
Take care.